The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey, everybody, this is the Tax Lady, and we're here to talk about taxes and money and budgeting and tax law changes, and if you're getting letters and if you haven't gotten your refund, if you haven't filed, hey, if you have a question, we want you to become part of our show. Give us a call at 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. And I'm joined in studio with Tiffany Fabian. Hey, Tiff.
Hey there, Esther. Happy almost Mother's Day.
Yeah, happy almost Mother's Day to you, too.
Yeah, the best job in the world. There is no better job.
Hard job.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
hard job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Chris, today with our older daughter, he says, I was helping with Princess all day. And so no matter what age they are, you're always teaching them.
That's true. That's true, and they don't always listen.
No.
I think that's what the saddest thing about being a parent is, that you see the choices your children make, and you know that they're going to shoot themselves in the foot, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Right.
And it just breaks your heart. But, the whole thing is that you're there on the other side of the challenge,
That's true.
And that's how I've always felt. And speaking of parents, we got Christopher Fabian, your other half.
Hello, Esther.
Hello, Christopher. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about today is things that people, because we try to make the show not just about taxes, we try to make it about finances and taxes and everything income tax related when it's not tax season, so that you don't think, oh, well, I don't want to hear this. And this week, what we're going to talk about is, when do you need to seek a financial professional? What the kind of life events in your life, like, this is when you need to get a financial professional. Right. And so, we thought, if you've sought professional help and it's been really a great thing for you, give us a call, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. And I guess the first...
And then I also wanted to say, sorry, we have our summer series coming up, and in June we're going to kick that off on June 3rd with Jeff Katz talking about estate planning,
which will really kind of dovetail to what we're talking about today,
right?
Too.
And then on the 10th,
elder care. He's elder care and estate planning. So if you don't have a $5 million estate, you still want to listen, because you want to know what you need to do if you have someone you love that needs Medicaid, how to go into a nursing home, how to pre-plan for that situation. So that's
how to make sure a nursing home doesn't take all your money.
Right.
That's right. Well, that's true. You got to get rid of your money, or else they're going to take your money.
And then
and that's the whole thing that people have to understand is, we don't like looking at some of these things that are challenging like this, but planning ahead is so important.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so that's June when, Tiff?
That's June 3rd, and then the week after, on the 10th, we have Bill Barber, who's going to talk about insurance and the importance of having insurance and answering questions about...
And if you've ever had your house burned down, you know how important it is to have insurance.
Yes, and talking about life insurance and things of that nature. And then finally, what I have planned so far is Jeff Boron on June 24th. He's going to talk about college planning for your kids, really getting
important.
Scholarships.
There's so many unknowns this year with the
education,
free, in quotation, education for the first 4 years, 2 years or 4 years of higher education in New York State. So Jeff will sure shine a light on that as well.
That's right.
Okay, well, I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. And before we get into our subject matter, we got Phil that's on the line, and Phil is from Rochester. Hey, Phil, how can we help you, sir?
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, I turned 70 and a half this summer,
Okay.
And I have traditional IRAs at banks.
Uh-huh.
And I'm wondering, can I, instead of making a required distribution, can I switch them into an annuity? Would that be acceptable to the IRS?
No, you still have to do a required minimum distribution. If you were to take your money and roll it out of an IRA into an annuity, that would not be a like-for-like exchange, and the whole enchilada would become taxable. So unless you did an annuity in an IRA, but that still would mean that you would still have an RMD that's necessary. But the good thing is, Tiff and Chris, tell them how much the RMD is the first year when you're 70 and a half.
You divide it by 27.4.
So if you have 100,000 in there, you divide that by 27.4, and it's like $4,000. So it's not that much money.
No.
Okay?
Okay, well,
but you want to make sure, and that's like you should listen to this whole show, is when do you need to talk to a financial person? Because some of these decisions we should not make alone, because when you make those decisions, once the decision is made, like for instance, let's say you rolled it over and didn't know you needed to keep it in an IRA and you just rolled it over into an annuity, the whole thing could have been taxable and it would have cost you a fortune. So those are one of the things that I'm really glad you called about.
One other question.
Yeah.
I've got, besides the traditional IRAs at banks, I also am in the thrift savings plan because I'm a postal retiree.
Uh-huh.
And those get lumped together, or they have to be separate?
Chris, you want to explain that?
Those are separate because they're two separate identities. The IRA goes on line 15. The thrift savings plan goes on line 16 of the tax return. So you can't lump them together to do the minimum.
But the divisor stays the same.
Correct.
And then, Phil, for your pension, do you use the simplified generalized method because it's a post office pension? Or actually, I don't think.
Simplified method.
That's automatically done.
It's automatically
for
done for the post office.
After tax, yep.
Yep, you're okay. It says it in the taxable box, so you're good.
Okay.
But anyway, so here's the thing. You got your IRA. You're going to divide it by 27.4, and your deferred compensation, you're going to divide it by 27.4. Actually, if you call and tell them you need the RMD, they'll do it for you. Now, the good thing is, in the first year that you turn 70 and a half, you can wait until April the 1st of the next tax year and take your RMD, which would have been pointed to 2017, and again another distribution before December the 31st of 2018. So if you wanted to, you could actually do 2 distributions in 2018, and that would fulfill the RMD requirement on turning 70 and a half this year.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Right. I'm Esther Gulias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. We want to talk about our subject matter today, and again, you don't have to talk about what we're talking about, but this is what we were pointed to, is when do you need a financial professional? The first thing is when you get your first job. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go pay a lot of money to talk to somebody, but you really should talk to somebody because you want to find out what a 401k plan is. You want to find out how to do your W-4. And Chris and Tiff, you've seen when kids don't do their W-4s correctly, especially with the state of New York.
Yeah, especially kids who have their first job and they're dependent on their parents' return. They think that, well, they'll be exempt and they don't have to do any withholdings. But in actuality, it's the opposite, and they should do single zero. And so it's really, really important for a young kid who has that first job to talk to somebody.
Well, single zero on the federal, but on New York State, it's a little more complicated. Don't you think, Chris?
Oh, New York State, definitely. They give them a lower standard deduction to begin with. So that means they really got to have that extra withholding, or they're going to end up owing $50, $100, $200 when it comes tax time next year, where they're thinking they're going to get money back.
Right.
They're going to actually end up owing money.
And then I can tell you, I have so many clients, the kids won't call. It's the parents that call. And so it's really important, if you're listening and you have a young kid who's starting their first job, give us a call, because probably your kids won't call to find out the answer.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
But the whole thing is, the standard deduction on the federal when a child is claimed on the parent's return, is going to be more than twice than what the state of New York will allow you. So let's say that you got a kid that's getting a job, maybe cleaning out cars at Delta Sonic, and they're getting tips and everything, and they're going to make $6,000. They're not going to pay any federal taxes. They're going to be a dependent on your return. However, on the state of New York, they'll end up owing taxes. So if your kid is out getting his first job, make sure you call us, and there's no charge, and we'll help you with your W-4, with their W-4. We're going to take a short break. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. We're talking about when you should talk to a professional, not necessarily a tax professional. We'll see you on the other side. Listen, baby. I know this one. Ain't no mountain high enough, right?
Yep.
Frank said yes.
Yes, all right. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. And we're talking about when you need to talk to somebody when you're making a financial decision. I know a lot of times, and people don't even know who to turn to.
That's true.
And so they kind of turn to themselves. And when you make that bad decision, it's too late. It's too late, baby. It's too late. But one of the next time that you would need a financial pro is when you're getting married or divorced. And because, for instance, a quadro distribution or alimony or who claims the kids or student loan repayments, should you file married filing joint or married separately, that's all really important. Like, for instance, I think a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that when you're doing an income-based repayment on your student loan, it's better to file separately many times.
Yep, that's right. I have lots of clients who do that, and that's because together their income is higher, and so their payment will be based on that. But if they do married filing separate, the person who has that payment for the student loan can traditionally be lower if they do separate. So it's something to look at.
Right. Well, see, and here's the thing. Let's say that you got two school teachers making $75,000 apiece. That's $150,000. So if you do an income-based repayment, it's going to be based on $150,000. But if they filed separately, it'd only be based on the $74,000. And then further, because a school system is not for profit, at the end of 10 years, that student loan would be completely forgiven.
As long as they apply.
As long as they apply. Now, how does that work? So for people that are listening, and yes, if you're working for a not-for-profit, so if you're working for Roswell, you're working for the state, you're working for cities, you're working for school districts, you're working for hospitals, you're working for a not-for-profit organization. So that means technically at the end of 10 years, if you meet your obligation and make your payments and you're not delinquent, at the end of 10 years, those loans are supposed to be forgiven. And so how does that all work?
Well, really importantly is they have to be federal loans. So if you have loans that are outside of the federal system, you can make an election. You have to make a phone call. You have to do some paperwork to make them federal loans. So first you have to convert them to federal loans, and then you're going to call up and talk about the repayment plan system. But first you have to make them Fed loans, and so that's something that we can help you with.
Is it hard to do?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, during tax season, I had lots of clients who said, I've been paying a service. There's telemarketers who are trying to sell you, and they'll help you through this system. They'll navigate you through this system, converting your loans, doing the 10-year payment plan. But you can do it yourself, or you can call our office and we'll help you. It's not that hard.
And how much do we charge to do that, Tiff?
Nothing.
We charge nothing.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So that's a good price.
That's a really good price. And I know that they'll.
Here's the thing. If you're paying student loans, and who isn't, right?
Yeah.
And you're working for a not-for-profit, and you have non-federal loans. Now, what kind of a loan might be a non-federal loan?
Like if you have it through KeyBank, if you have it through Third Bank. I mean, any bank other than Sallie Mae or Fed Loans, you have to convert them and have them transferred over to Fed Loans. And then I should also say that 10-year period, it can't be at a reduced payment. It has to be at the correct payment that they calculate. So that could be really a pinch for some people.
Okay, but then again, but they can still use the income base based on married separate, though, right?
Chris is shaking his head. I don't think so.
If you said that, you just said they had to make the full payment.
Yeah.
Well, but isn't that okay? Because income based is a way to get around the payment.
Right. Correct. And then before I forget about saying this, you know how you said if you're getting a divorce, it's one of those times you should seek professionals. There's a handful of my clients, and I do their returns, and they're the custodial parents, but they never, ever, ever get to claim their kids because when they did the divorce, they signed over that the other parent got to claim the child every single year.
I mean, the 8332 or the...
Right.
Okay.
Every single year. And after the fact, it costs too much. It's too timely. It cost a lot of money to go back and have it changed. So please make sure you seek professional help before you sign on the dotted line.
Divorce.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So the other thing is a quadro distribution is if you're married and you got a pension plan and the judge says X amount of dollars needs to go to the ex-spouse on a quadro distribution. That's not going to be taxable to you when they do that, but you want to make sure that's done properly. And again, like Tiffany was saying, if you have children, you know, so many times when we're in the middle of getting a divorce or people are in the middle of getting a divorce, they just want a divorce and they'll sign anything.
Correct.
But the thing is, you know, if you do something in haste, you repent in leisure. So you want to make sure that you know what you're doing, and that would be another time when, like I said, you need to talk to a professional.
And then also, really importantly, so that example that I said where the custodial parent lost her kids, you want to make sure if you're a lower or moderate income person, you still claim the kids for earned income credit purposes. So that's something really important to also keep
and that's something
in your brain.
They're planning on continuing during if the Trump tax law changes go into effect. Okay, another thing is if you receive a lot of cash, because not all cash you receive is tax-free. So you want to make sure if you're getting cash, is it taxable? Is it an IRA? Is it an annuity? Is it a pension? Did you inherit it? Things of that nature. You want to make sure that when you're getting, if you're getting a lump sum of cash, Aunt Eloise passed away, she named you in the will, you want to make sure what kind of income it is, because depending upon the nature of the income will determine whether or not it's taxable.
Right. You got to, double check, triple check, ask the questions. You don't want any surprises come January through April.
Now, and then if you are somebody that received money from a decedent and you're the beneficiary, that's different than if it just came through the estate, correct?
Right, because normally if it just comes right through the estate pays the taxes. Right, and if you're the beneficiary, that means you have to pay the taxes.
Right, but if you're a beneficiary, you have three choices.
Right, you can take it all up front. You can
5 years.
Take it over 5 years, or you can annuitize it over the rest of your life.
Right, and so those are important decisions, and you need to kind of run it by somebody. And if that happens to you this year, that you're named as the beneficiary on an estate, you want to make sure you find out what kind of income you got, because it may not be taxable at all. If you're just inheriting Aunt Louise's bank account, then that's going to be all completely tax-free.
Right.
But if it's an annuity or an IRA or a pension, then that's different.
So the point is to pick up the phone and ask the questions.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, again, talk to your tax professional. Call EG Tax. There's no charge. We are very happy to help you. But if you took the whole thing, let's say you got $150,000 in an IRA and you took the whole thing, that's going to cost you a fortune in taxes next year. Whereas you could have taken it at maybe $30,000 a year over the next 5 years. So again, you want to make sure that you have somebody that works through the numbers with you so that you don't make a bad decision. Right?
Yep.
Hey, let's go back to Roger. Hi, Raj. I'm Esther Gullius. How can I help you, sir?
Yes, I'm following your conversation about the student loans, okay?
Yeah.
And this loan is like 15 years old, all right? And it was taken out by a young lady that I tried to help back then, and stupidly, and I emphasize stupidly, I co-signed the loan for her. And she recently filed for bankruptcy, all right? Now, this is a private loan. Is there any advantages to get it transferred to a federal loan, and can I do that?
That's a really good question, because they're going to go back on him because he's the co-signer.
Right.
And I would think that maybe there is, but he would have to work for a non-for-profit. Do you work for a non-for-profit agency, Roger?
I did. I'm now retired.
Yes, there's.
Okay, all right. So here's the thing. There are refinancing available, for instance, like through the Pentagon Federal Credit Union. I believe that they will refi existing student loans at 3.2%. Do you know what rate you're paying, Raj?
Approximately that amount, too.
Okay, well, but I think what the best thing to do is
call my office, and I'm going to
call.
find out if you're a retired person
Right.
from a non-for-profit, because that's a really interesting situation.
Right, but the whole thing is nothing ventured.
I
Nothing
will
gained,
find out.
Right?
I'm like Sherlock Holmes. I'll sniff it out.
Thank
Yeah.
All right, Raj.
Appreciate it.
632-7886 is our corporate headquarters phone number, and again, we will jump over any wall, go through any barrier. We will try to help you.
Yeah, the truth is,
there's no
his
charge.
situation will help somebody else. It's
Because
sort of,
once we know,
exactly.
once we know that if you're a co-signer on somebody, then and you
And
are
he was retired.
We'll know.
Yep,
We'll
yep,
know.
yep.
Okay. And let's see, we're coming up to the news. We got your phone calls on the other side, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on the cell phone. We got Ray and Sandy holding, and your calls after the break. I know that one too. That's Love Train, right?
Yeah.
I've been on the Love Train for years. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone, and I suppose we should not make these lovely people wait any longer, right?
Sure.
Correct.
All right, who should we choose first? Should we do Ray?
Sure.
Hey, Ray.
Hello.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Did you say the Trump train or the love train?
I'm on either train.
She said love.
I said love.
I'm just kidding. I got a question. Next year, when I make my taxes out, what is the magic word when I sit down and say I blank? I couldn't afford the health care.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Well, first of all,
Word.
all right. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and we haven't seen the regs yet, but I believe what has gone on thus far, at least if it goes into the Senate, is that that on the current version on the House there are no penalties anymore.
There is no.
We will see, but you can waive the penalty if you have a financial burden. So, you guys want to be more specific with him?
Yeah. So if your income that you make per year is less than 8% of what it would have cost you for health insurance, that's one reason. If you
All
have
right,
a
so
shut-off
let's
notice.
Give him an example. 8% of.
So say you make $40,000. 8% of that is $3,200. If the minimum insurance would have cost you $4,000, you don't make
You got an
enough
exception
money.
to penalty.
You have an exception to penalty.
And there's other exceptions too. If you have a shut-off notice, if you have a death of somebody in the family, if for just some reason there's a financial hardship, it's very vague. I've had clients do it who've had a change in their lifestyle and they can't afford the bills, and we do a summation of their money in and money out. Then there's exceptions to penalty. So there's a whole host of them, Ray.
So Ray, is that kind of your situation?
Yeah, kind of. It went up. It went up ridiculously.
The
Right.
cost.
So you know what you might want to do is we have healthcare navigators that work at the office. There's no charge. And I think to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And so you want to make sure that you know what you're talking about. So give them a call, tell them your situation so they can help you to kind of build the proof, so that if this doesn't get passed in the Senate, I think it will, but it might not. You're heading off disaster for next year.
Because what they're trying to pass is that there will be no penalty anymore. And I know also Trump signed an executive order, right,
That
Esther?
said the same thing, but
Yeah, I know it's
but
not.
again, there's been no regulations, and
Right.
so you can't. If it's still in the law, when they write the regulations, we're stuck. So you just got to make sure. So that's why I'd suggest you talk to Tim or Karen. They'll help you out.
Karen, yeah, I was told to talk to Karen.
Yeah. Okay, Ray.
Okay, thank you
There's
very
no
much.
charge. Thank you, sir. Thanks for calling. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930.
Isn't that-
8030930, star 930 on your cell phone. Yes, Tiffany.
Isn't that amazing how the cost of insurance, it just keeps going up and up? And I know.
You know, it's really interesting because you'd think that they could come up with a standard.
Correct.
Like a shot costs $3, a shot
Yep,
of whatever.
yep,
And
yep.
an appendectomy costs $2,000.
Yep,
You know, I
yep,
mean, there
anesthesia.
should be some standard.
Yep.
But it's like whatever the traffic will bear.
Yeah, whatever your insurance is, that's what we're going to charge you.
That's exactly right. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on the cell phone. And we got Sandy. Hey, Sandy, how can we help you?
Hi, Esther. I heard you talking about divorce, and
Yep.
I'm currently in the middle of a divorce. My children are all grown out of the house. However, we have properties. We have a 403B, a 401K, and I have been, led by my attorney. He never said anything about financial assistance or a financial advisor, and I'm just wondering, would it be feasible for me to get a financial advisor? Because I have never been divorced before. This is brand new to me,
Right.
and I don't even know what I'm doing.
Well, you want to make sure that you have somebody that's going to cover the bases for you. For instance, is your former spouse getting part of your pension?
I don't know that.
Are you getting part of your spouse's pension?
I don't know that either.
Okay, so those are things, that's called a quadro. So you want to find, and the children are grown, so you don't have that problem. So you want to make sure that that you're well aware of what's available to you. So those are questions that we would help you. There's no charge.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. She asked about a financial broker. I think, Sandy, more than anything, believe it or not, a tax advisor can answer some of those questions,
Right,
not a
because-
financial broker.
Right, because what you really want to do is be able to say to the your attorney, who's getting the 403B? Am I getting half of my husband's? Is he getting half of mine? I only have $50,000 in mine. He's got $400,000 in his. We've been married for 25 years. You know, those kind of things. You want to make sure, because once it's done, it's done. And like Tiffany had mentioned, to go back into court after the divorce is done, it becomes very expensive.
Okay.
And so give us a
so
call.
what I'd suggest you do is give us a call, and then you want to call your attorney. So is the divorce moving along?
Well, we were supposed to go to court on the 26th, and then the trial date was set for the 28th because, there's a little problem. Someone doesn't want to agree to anything. So, and in the meantime, my spouse had a stroke. So,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. It gives you an opportunity to ask your attorney what happens to the 403Bs, the 401Ks, who gets what? How is it split up? or did he already or she already decide that you keep yours, he keeps his? Is that equitable? Is that what you guys you think is fair? Did he make more money? Did you pay for his education? Things of that nature. So those are things that you need to take up with your attorney.
I know, for instance, one of my clients, he used to live in a different state and he worked for the government, and he got home one day and his wife had cleared out the house and she had an attorney and she gets half of his government pension, and he has very ill feelings about it, but there's things.
I'll bet you had ill feelings.
Yeah. But there's things in place to protect you.
And again, if you don't ask the question, you don't know. So,
right.
Again,
I don't ask the questions because I don't really know what questions.
That's exactly true.
So
we'll give you the questions.
Give us a call, 632-7886, and we'll be very happy to help you, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Sandy.
All right.
Okay, so talking about other times when you need to talk to a professional, when you're controlling your parents' income, the sale of their home, Medicare, reverse mortgages, that's another time when you need to talk to a financial person, because you got to get power of attorneys involved.
Yeah,
you have to talk to your parents, make sure that they didn't gift you the house before they passed away. Maybe put into to place life estates. Yeah, Tiff.
Sorry, I was going to say my mother-in-law, she handled her sisters and her brother-in-law's estate. And so she did it was a lot of work, but she did her due diligence. She, sought counsel, and she really did a good job. But you really have to make sure. She could sit here and tell you how painstakingly difficult it was to handle it.
Right. And the thing is, she has had a lot of years in
the accounting
accounting world, right? So she was smarter than the average bear.
Very well said.
So you want to make sure that if you're a novice, you want to make sure you're not a babe in the woods, because unfortunately, if it seems right that the parents would gift you the house. I mean, it just seems right, unless they do gift you the house, and then you sell the house, then you pay the taxes on it.
And what's the huge difference between gifting the house and putting it in a life estate? I mean, those are, come tax time when it sells, those are two different animals altogether, that one will hurt you and one will love you.
Okay, so let's explain what's the difference between a life estate and gifting over the asset.
Okay, well, a gift means, here you go, I'm still alive and I'm turning it over to my daughter's names.
And that feels so good, doesn't it? I mean, it makes you feel so, wasn't that wonderful that they're gifting? And it is a wonderful thing. Unfortunately, we're all going to pass away one day, and when that happens and it's been gifted to you, then you pay the difference between what it was worth when what your parents paid for it, plus all their improvements, and what you sold it for.
Right. So say they bought it back in 1963 for $15,000, put $25,000 into it, so their basis is $40,000. They gift it to you, and you sell it for $120,000. You have an $80,000 gain you have to pay tax on.
That's
Yikes.
Right. So, and that's where it's really important. So as your parent, if your parents kind of have that you call you over for chicken dinner on Sunday afternoon and say, we're thinking about gifting you our house, say, why don't we go to EG Tax and see what they say. It is wonderful when the parents come in with the children.
Right,
Yeah.
right. They got, how many times do we say you got to have that talk? No one likes that talk, but you got to have that talk.
Right. And so if your parents are, amenable to the subject, and sometimes kids are so, I don't want to use the word afraid, but they don't want to offend their parents. And that's certainly a wonderful thing that you don't want to offend your parents. But I'm sure that if the parents knew that they were going to cost the kids $20,000 in taxes after they pass away, if there was another way to do it, that the parents would be open to that. So that open dialogue is so important.
Definitely. Oh, I know.
And we try very hard to be very sensitive because we know how important it is.
Yep. I know I had someone the other day come in and they said, well, I have 2 years before I turn 70 and a half. I want to take money out now, put it in a Roth, so when I die, my kids won't have to pay tax on it. And I said, well, how much are you talking about? And it was up there. And I said, well, you're going to lose at least 1/3 of it.
Right, and so so let's say he lives another 20 years. That all that growth on 1/3 of it is gone.
Yep.
Right? I mean, because he paid it up front. And who knows what the tax code's going to be. And maybe they'll drop the rate at his income level had he taken out systematic payments, so it wouldn't cost him anything at all. So you want to make sure that you ask for that professional advice, at least to get the old balls rolling upstairs in your head, so you think, if I do that, gee, I hadn't thought about that. And it's really important. We're going to take a short break. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. We're talking about when you need to talk to a financial professional, and we'll be back with your phone calls and the rest of our show after the break. Well, I don't know that song, and it's very slow coming out of the chute. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. We're talking about when you need to talk to somebody before you make decisions on your own that can cost you a lot of money, especially during tax time. We didn't talk about reverse mortgages. Those are really a great option for seniors.
Yeah.
And basically, it's really taking the equity out of your house. You get to live in your house as long as you want. The bank, basically like you're the bank. The bank is now making payments to you. You can take the money in a lump sum. You can get monthly payments. They'll pay off your existing mortgage, and it makes life so easy for you. And again, and it's all tax-free money.
Yep. And now some people, I'll talk to them and approach them about that, and they're like, yeah, but I wanted to leave the house for my kids, and that was all that I had left.
Well, and that is true, but unfortunately, what happens is sometimes the parent is so struggling to
Correct.
keep the house together, pay the property taxes, that they end up getting to the place where they almost lose the house. So a reverse mortgage is a real great planning tool for not everybody, but for some people.
Right. I mean,
and again, if you need help, it will help you.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially with the higher cost of prescriptions going up, medical pays are going up. There's seniors who are on that fixed income that need that little bit of extra money to help them get by.
That's exactly right.
And then don't forget that there has to be equity in your house, obviously, before you can proceed in that direction.
You can have, let's say that you have a house that's worth $200,000 and you still have a $40,000 mortgage. If you do a reverse mortgage, they might give you $150,000 and pay off that first mortgage for you. So now you have the extra money coming in. You have no mortgage payment. There's no mortgage payment. They paid it for you. And as long as you're alive and you live in that house, it's your house. All you have to do is make sure you keep it in good shape and pay the property taxes. So it is a great tool for many seniors. And again, we are happy to help you with that. Let's also talk about another time you need to talk to a financial person is if you're thinking about retirement, budgeting, getting Social Security, when to collect it, and downsizing, all those kind of things. If you're in that frame of mind.
Yeah. I know on our website, Tim and Chris put together a Social Security calculator where you can calculate if you get your Social Security at the first age or if you hold off and wait a few years and what it will cost you and where you'll be. And it's a really good tool, and it's right on our website.
It is a really great tool. For instance, people say, I think I'm going to wait until I'm 70 to collect. Okay, that's good. But in the meantime, you might have given up, let's just use $20,000 a year in Social Security. And at $20,000 a year over 8 years might be then $160,000. You let them keep $160,000. Now you get to collect at age 70. You don't break even until you're 85.
Right.
So at 85, you're in the plus side. And so you say, but I got the extra money to live on from 70 until 85. Well, that's good, but from 62 to 70, you didn't have the money to live on, and maybe you took the money out of your IRA in order to make ends meet. Think about it. Go to our website. We have a great planning tool about should you take money out of your Social Security or before age 70. If you died the day after you started to collecting, they don't come up to your widow or widower at the casket and say, gee, this is Social Security, we owe you $160,000. They just don't do it that way.
Yeah, and then also another tool that we have at the office, if you're thinking about retiring, you always want to look at the budget. And I know a lot of people that are retiring and they try to pay off their credit card debts and they try to, get their house paid for. You want to make it lean and mean if you can, so that when you retire, you don't have those bills. But we could sit down and do a budget with you, which is always really helpful.
And then here's the other thing. Maybe you're at the place where you're retiring and you haven't done a budget, where you really say, I need this much money to live on. And looking at the fact that the sad thing is the cost of Medicare is going up every year. So they're taking more and more out of your Social Security to live on. If you don't know what you need to live on, maybe you can't afford to live in your house anymore. Maybe you don't want to live in your house anymore because it's so darned expensive to live there. So maybe you want to downsize. That's a thing that we do with people, and there's no charge for us to do a budget for you and give you alternatives. We're not suggesting you should leave your house. I mean, nobody wants to leave their house, but maybe it's the best thing for you in order to have any kind of a vibrant retirement.
Yeah, and then also there's one of my clients that's going to get mad if I tell you this. If you're a retired person and you're below that threshold where you don't even have to file, you might want to think of taking money out of your IRA because you don't have to pay tax on it, right, Chris? You want to explain?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the government, if you're a single person over 65, you're looking about $12,500 a year before you pay taxes. So if you, besides your Social Security, only have like $4,000 of other income, you could take out another $8,000 and pay no tax.
Tax-free.
Yep.
And so a lot of people are saying, oh, you ought to put money into a Roth, and that's all good as long as there is a Roth and as long as you're going to pay taxes. But as things are going, you can see that the proposal here with Trump is that really, until you get, if you're married filing a joint return, until you get to $24,000, you're not going to pay taxes at all. So that means that you could take all this money out of your IRA and not pay taxes. And if you were somebody that moved that money into a Roth, shame on you.
Yep.
And you just paid the taxes up front, and they changed the tax law on you, and you're not going to get any benefit for it.
Right. And, with your required minimum distributions, as long as they still allow it, why don't you take that and send it to your church through your IRA, not through yourself, but through your IRA? It counts as your minimum distribution. You're still given to the church, but you're not paying tax on it, which won't affect the Social Security.
Right. That's if somebody is a giver. Not everybody does.
Not everybody gives,
but if you do,
you
do. All right. So then, okay. We had a text message that came in.
Yeah, we do. It was somebody who called in and he said, I have about $9,000 in student loans, but companies say they want me to have at least $10,000 before they will help me refinance. And so I texted him back and I said to try PenFed.
Right. PenFed is really good. Pentagon Federal Credit Union. I use all the time. They have
great
car
rates.
Loans on used cars at 1.9%, and they have like a very if you have a good credit score, they have a very, very low refinance cost, and and they set you up so it's a fixed term, and you know that in X amount of years it's paid for.
Right.
So Pentagon Federal Credit Union. They're in Virginia,
and you don't have to be a military member.
It costs $35 to join, but their services are wonderful.
Yep.
Would you say, Tiff?
I said you don't have to be in the military, or you don't have to have a relative in the military. They're just great to deal with.
All right. And downsizing. If you're thinking of downsizing, it's so good to talk to somebody about. Should if you don't have a mortgage anymore, many times people say, oh, but I'm going to lose the interest in property taxes on my home. the truth of the matter is, it doesn't make much difference. Would you guys agree?
Right. Some of the seniors out there don't even itemize because they can't come up to the standard deduction between
So
their
they're giving you the big standard deduction, and you're making that mortgage payment, and it's not saving you a dollar.
Right, especially, if Trump's plan goes through where he's getting rid of the property taxes as a write-off, you're not going to get any write-off then on your tax return if you're
All right, now, another time you need a financial professional is estate planning or elder care planning, especially if you have a loved one that's going to go into a nursing home and you're looking at Medicaid. You need a professional.
Yep, and that's
Jeff Katz, Dennis Kitchen. Those are two of the attorneys that advertise with our show. That they are people that will help you so that you can spend your money wisely, so that your loved one can get some help and get into Medicaid without you having to get rid of all of your money.
That's right. So you don't make those things like give somebody your house when you should have really put it into a life estate, so you can make all those right decisions. And about the 5-year look back.
The 5-year look back is critical. Yeah. You may feel in great shape right now, and you don't have the kind of you've saved up your whole life. You have $200,000. If you don't start looking at what's going to happen possibly 5 years from now, 10 years from now, by doing some estate planning, you can end up, we've seen it many times, where people's little nest eggs or $200,000 is used to be private pay patients, and in a short period of time, in a year and a quarter, all that money's gone.
That's right.
Yep.
In a nursing home. So
and if you
there's things you can do to make sure that money, if you want it to go to your heirs, goes to your heirs.
Yeah, and if you are a private pay at a nursing home, don't forget about the bed tax, which is a refundable credit on New York State, and don't forget to declare it.
All right, and the last thing I have here is you should talk to a financial professional if you're in debt and you don't know how to get out of debt.
Yep.
Many people think that filing a bankruptcy is the end of the world. The truth of the matter is that is in the law to protect you. And sometimes that's the best thing that you can do. So many times we see people take all their money out of their pension plan to pay their credit cards, and that would have been protected. In a bankruptcy, they could have kept the money in the pension plan. It would have been protected, and the bankruptcy would have paid off the credit cards. So those are just things that, practical things that you need to talk to somebody, because sometimes our gut is the worst thing we can go with. Right, guys?
Right.
All right. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady. If you need the best help with your taxes or some financial things, give EG Tax a call at 632-7886. Visit us online at egtax.com. Until next week, I'm Esther Golias, Tiffany Fabian, and Christopher Fabian, and all you wonderful mothers, happy Mother's Day. God bless you. See you next week.